Hey guys, so I wanted to post a video on to kind of give you a glimpse into my mind and why I personally like the Dodge Stealth and why I believe that the twin turbo, the VR4s and the twin turbo Stealths are going to be collectible or highly sought after, and just kind of the ins and outs of kind of the information I've gathered throughout the years, or my know-how. Just a brief little history. If you know Stealth, you've probably seen this graph. Anybody who cares about the cars will check in to see how many that were actually produced. They were produced from 91 to 99, at least this model car. They started off strong, making quite a few, 6, 7 thousand. First year, 92s, they made, 9, 10,000. And then 93s, they still made quite a bit, but in the second generation, which happened in 94, there was a huge decline in numbers. 94 was really only a facelift on the car. It did get cleaner lines, which I personally like. Got a bit more power, which is always good on the books, especially when, for collectability purposes, and pushed at 320 horsepower, which in those days was a huge deal. Not so much for the Japanese cars, but in North America, none of the Mustangs and Camaros and things like that had that kind of power. Even the Vets were pretty skimpy around those times. And then from there in '95, what they did was in '94 they still had all the gadgets and things that are known on those cars. The all-wheel steer, electronic everything. And in '95 they started taking them out. I'm not super familiar with what they took out of the 95 VR4, but in the Stealth, it's like, stripped down version. And I think they did that not out of because they found it was better, but just to decrease the cost in production, because they were only made, like, they made 500 of them. Even the VR4 is like 1,300. There just wasn't, a market for it really anymore for them to be. They, needed margins greater. And they introduced in '95 the VR4 Spider, which is really cool. People love convertibles, and I think it's got its claim to fame as being the first motorized top in a production car since the 50s or 40s or whenever the last one was, I think. But don't quote me on that one. So as far as collectability, in my opinion, this second generation, with only having about 1,400 cars, and the clean body lines, and it being a Dodge, which is, a North American brand, even though it was built in Japan, it's really going to pull it off. Mopars get big money at auction, older Mopars, and a bunch of different things. And any North American people, just that's what, they want, American cars. So they want it. There's lots of debate. I know lots of guys that take their Stealths and convert them over to 3000 GTs because it's cool to have a Japanese car, the younger generations. But yeah, it may be cooler. But you're making your car, 3000 GT. There's tons of them. There was always more production 3000 GTs than there were Stealths. You don't want, you want to have a limited production or a rare car for it to be collectible, not a car that everybody knows and sees all the time. So I think the second generation Stealths, the convertibles, of course, everybody loves convertibles. They're unique. They got made 1,000 of them, so they're going to be. And then of course the '99. You can't get away with that. It's just such a bold styling with the car. In your face wing and the front fascia, and everybody loves the look of it, which is why most of these cars now have '99 front ends on them, which in my case I got to decide what I want to do with the car. And that's it. Now looking at my car specifically, these are the numbers based on color, and mine's black 94, so it's one of 119. You can see, it's one of the more rarer colors, not quite the same as the silvers and the blues and some of these other ones down here in 96, and but 96s were rare in their own mind. But you see lots of greens, especially at home. Lots of green styles, quite a few yellow ones, lots of red ones. You don't see too many white ones, at least my experience. But according to the numbers, there's quite a few of them. So, but rare. So I prefer the black. Pain in the ass to keep clean, but it definitely looks sweet when it's all, perfectly polished and everything like that. So that's 229 black ones. And that's it. Twin turbos, pretty rare. North America, 20-year-old car. It's gonna have its collectability status. So one of the things is I was just curious. I'm like, okay, 229. How many are actually on the road? How many are all these other ones on the road? And where are they? What kind of shape they're in? What kind of mileage are on them? Because those are all things that deal with collectability. So I went. You can get all the VIN numbers off the web of all the cars, and I searched Carfax for them, and I was able to. Here, this is just a spreadsheet to find out what the VIN number is, what the options are. These are red cars. Uh, you know, Model code, option code. You can look more into that if you're interested. Location, where they're located. Last activity in the Carfax. Are they still on the kind of give an indication? Are they still on the road? Are they not? And then the mileage. Mileage matters, especially low mileage vehicles bring top dollar. High mileage are beat to hell, so you're probably not worth too concerned about those. Um, and you can kind of go through. So my car's in Canada, so I went down. These are all the red ones. I want to see how many are in Canada. Whereabouts are they? Are they my neck of the woods? Am I going to see one if I'm driving out, or if I go to a Mitsubishi meet or a Dodge meet or a car show? Am I going to see another one, or am I going to be the only one? These are things people want in a car, especially when it's a collectible. They want to have the only one. They want to be a big deal. So the looking at them, I can see where they are. Plus, I can tell, did someone, potential odometer rollback? Well, that car's probably not going to be worth too much because it's got a Carfax, point against it. Mileage, as well as where are there overseas ones. Just kind of interesting to see who shipped them out of here, as well as the ones that are either have no activity or are salvage, which are probably not on the road. And no activity, since '99, Carfax has it's got 82,000 miles on it, but the last time it was active was in '99. So did someone put that car away? Did something happen to it and it's just not recorded on Carfax? It's hard to say. But these are still in the loop potentially, because there's quite a few low mileage ones. And I did this for all the cars, silver, blue. These are the silver ones. Find out what they are. So it's pretty interesting to see. Blacks. These are looking at the black ones. Rebel titles. We got a bunch. This is my car here. I'm in Burlington. The car is not right now. I actually have the car down in the DC area, building it right now. I'm down here for work, but and I got just over 120,000 kilometers, which is something like 165, 170,000 miles. I think something like that for the Americans. So it's pretty low, and I want to see where it stacked up with the other ones. And as you can see, there's a few. There's one in Alberta that's super low mileage, a few higher mileage, but my car, at least in Canada, is a pretty low mileage car. There's a couple of them. And then we go in the States, we go through. So if we look at the summary, I did a quick summary for you guys. Just kind of here we are. So we go with the black. There's 119 produced in '94. I kind of judge them based on mileage, which has a lot to do with how the value of the car, whether it was taken care of or not. Under 150,000 miles. There's 12 of them between 50 and 100,000 miles, which is where my car's at. There's 30 of them on the road, different things. Mine's a charcoal, which is less rare. There is tan and red interiors, which would be much more rare, which would probably bring a premium. Looking at the higher mileage cars, there's some of those. And not discarding the mileage alerts, the rebuilds, and the salvage cars, which are probably not going to be worth too much, or parts cars, or maybe later on might be rebuilt, but they're still not going to be worth anything. I got one car on the road out of 67, at least what I'm deeming, and the numbers don't all fully match up because I don't have all the VIN number information, or at least not any spreadsheets. Um, but to give you kind of an idea of where we're at, 67 are on the road, so I got one of 67, and out of those 67, mine's you know probably like the lower half of the mileage range. Uh, so maybe out of 30 cars, mine's one out of 30 that have lower mileage. So makes it pretty rare when you think of like the population and how many people have this car. So, but driving out on the road, am I going to see one? One out of 67, pretty rare event that I'll see another car just like mine. Um, but this also doesn't factor in the 95s. So maybe we'll double this number. One out of 100 in all of North America, and then go to Canada, it's even rare. And I did that for the other ones. So to give you an idea, out of the silver ones, they're a rare car. There's only 22 left on the road. The yellow ones, there's 197 left on the road. You can just kind of see the mileage there of the ranges. 134 green ones. I know the green ones usually get a bad rap just because of the color. At least at home, where I'm at, they do. The red ones, they had a lot of paint problems with fading and stuff like that. But there's 152 of those still left on the road. At least these are 2008 numbers. 28 blue ones probably still left on the road. Most of them are in this range. A few higher mileage ones, and then 114 white ones. So again, these are 4-year-old numbers. There's quite a bit of work to get this in the first place, so it's not something you want to do all the time. So 4 years of mileage. Say people are daily driving these, or they're buying them now because they're still cool and you can get them for a decent price, put a bunch of miles. I bet you these numbers are way, they've shifted quite a bit. There's the diehards. What you will notice is there is quite a few low mileage cars. They do make up the bulk of these cars, which also indicates to me that they're highly collectible. Lots of people have these in their collection. Lots of people are sitting on these cars. Lots of people aren't going to get rid of these cars unless they can get the value out of them. So once basically the switch flips and they become highly sought after, kind of like the Toyota Supra is, these are going to be $40,000 cars. Maybe that's super optimistic, but I don't see why they couldn't get up at least in the 20s. These cars should be, in my opinion, selling around the 20,000 mark, especially if the Supras, with the same numbers, the same performance ratings, kind of. Yeah, it's a different styling, a different following, but people are buying them. They just have more of a status behind them, and they're still getting their 30-40,000. But really, apples to oranges, they're pretty much the same car, same power, same everything. I would love to have a Supra. I don't have one. I do believe they're an awesome car, and they're valued where they should be. I just think that VR4s and Stealths are super undervalued, and in particular, I think the Stealths are undervalued, mainly because people, when they think of these cars, they really want the 3000 GT. But in a collector's standpoint, it's the Stealth is where you want to be, at least in my opinion. Unless you can get yourself a 99, but they're still going for 20 plus thousand, so they're not good buys. So that's basically my mind on why I think they're collectible, and hopefully this helps out guys who have them and make them realize how special the cars they got. Some of the guys with the low mileage cars, they got it, but they maybe they don't know kind of where they stand. It is a 20-year-old car. Until you actually put facts to paper, it was all speculation. So so my advice is don't let your cars go for nothing. People are selling these cars for super cheap now. They lower mileage, and they're getting like 10 grand, and people are complaining that there's too much money for those cars. It's I'd put money on, or I'm putting money in the car right now that these are going to get collectible. So thanks for watching, and I hope this was helpful.